It's recording!
What? As we mentioned in the previous video, the letter for today's show is H, which stands for
Home cinemas. So, what is a home cinema, or for our American viewers, a home theatre?
Well, the dictionary definition is home theatre or home cinema is defined as an audiovisual entertainment system consisting of consumer-grade audio and video equipment to reproduce a true cinema experience. I'm not looking at the camera. There's the camera.
Camera 1, camera 2.
So yeah, that kind of explains what home cinema is. Video over. So there's a lot more to a home cinema than that description.
And there are a lot of different perceptions on what makes up a home cinema, because I think we have a lot of clients who refer to certain rooms in their houses as the cinema room, or the cinema, or the TV room.
Yeah.
And 9 times out of 10, these are just regular living rooms, I suppose, or like we said in the last video, multifunction multimedia rooms where multiple things can go on, like whether it's gaming or listening to music or just watching day-to-day TV or watching films, because that happens to be a good sound system. But I don't think that's what we want to talk about today, is it?
No, and that's not really what we consider to be a home cinema. Like, the whole idea of having a home cinema is it's a room you go to experience what it would be like when you go to the cinema. Whereas your lounge is not necessarily a home cinema, because you do other things there. You don't necessarily go there to watch TV. It's generally a chill out space rather than an actual cinema.
I think the two biggest letdowns for a general TV room or living room or lounge is the fact that the seating is not directed at your screen where you need to be looking. For instance, in a regular cinema, all the seating looks at the big screen down at the front. In most living rooms, TV rooms, whatever, you'll likely find an L-shaped bracket, an L-shaped sofa, or a pair of sofas looking at each other rather than looking at the TV. But I think more than anything, regardless of the size of the screen or whether there's a TV or a projection screen or whatever's on the wall, is the quality of audio that you lose by having a regular multi-purpose room.
Not all rooms are designed in a way that enhances the experience of the audio. So for instance, a living room may have toys somewhere or bookshelves and certain reflective surfaces in places that don't do the audio any good, where the sound will reflect off of them and interact differently between different types of materials. So you don't necessarily get a cinema experience. The main elements that we consider
to make up
a home cinema,
the ideal home cinema,
are a screen.
Big screen. Usually we would recommend, if it's a cinema, that you have a projector, because there's nothing like going into a home theatre with a big projector on the wall. More than anything, just having a projector in a room with a projection screen, other than a classroom, is the one sort of defining factor that says, wow, this is a cinema room.
The next key factor that we consider is a decent sound system.
Definitely.
It has to be a surround sound system, otherwise it's not a cinema in my mind anyway. It has to be more than stereo. You have to have subwoofers, and to complement the high quality audio system, the room has to be fit for the sound. So you would have diffusion panels, soundproofing to stop any spillage into other rooms. The highly reflective surfaces in the room should be deadened. Is that the word?
Dampened.
Yeah. Dampened. We don't want a damp cinema. So the reflective surfaces in the room
We've worked in a damp cinema before.
We don't want a damp cinema. The reflective surfaces in the room need to be dampened.
Yeah, but that's a detail we'll get into on another video eventually.
Yes. And also you can have your Dolby Atmos ceiling speakers which essentially give a new dimension to the sound. So your surrounds give you
a horizontal plane of sound.
So the surrounds give you your horizontal plane of sound, and then the Atmos speakers, it gives you your vertical overhead dimension in sound, fully immerses you in ways that a standard surround system doesn't. So check that out, there are plenty of videos online. And then subwoofers, again, there's nothing like having that pump, as Arnold Schwarzenegger would say.
The pump.
I feel the pump all the time.
The next thing that we consider to be a valuable asset to a home cinema would be comfortable seating.
Yeah, because think about it. In a real cinema, you've got a great big single-seater lounge chair, unless you go to a special cinema. Anyway, in the Odeon, for instance, it's a single lounge chair, comfortable enough to allow most people to sit down without much fidgeting for, I don't know, up to 3 hours maybe?
You say that, but I can't sit in an Odeon seat without fidgeting every 10 minutes. The seats are not very comfortable at all, which is why you should get a home cinema.
In all fairness, those seats see a lot of asses. Well, comfortable seating aside, I think at least having directed seating, as in seating that honours the viewing area, you know, as opposed to just a regular sofa that's been chucked in the corner, seating where you can sit down and without having to crook your neck or look up or down or whatever, be able to view what it is you're watching in comfort.
Yeah.
Cup holders optional. So those are the three things that we believe constitute a home cinema. A big screen, decent audio, a minimum of like a 5.1 surround sound system, and comfortable, dedicated and directed seating. Although there are a few finer details to consider when setting up or designing and installing home cinemas. For instance, screens. You're not limited to just using projectors.
No.
A projector is really for when, like you say, the cost of a 140-inch video wall, it far outweighs that of having a projector with a projection screen.
Yep.
So it's, given the price of TVs these days, it's viable to have a TV for screens up to about 90 inches because the price of them outweighs the cost of a projector and screen.
Yep. Plus, depending on what projector you get, of course, you don't have the issue of changing the bulbs with the maintenance side of it, and also you don't have a box sticking out the ceiling. Now, you can get projector lifts that hide it in the ceiling, another video. And also the screen doesn't have to be a permanent screen, it can also retract into the ceiling. Sometimes we even do that, so some cinemas where they are a multi-function room, you would have a TV on the wall, but we can turn it into a cinema at the touch of a button. So the projector comes down out of the screen, the projection screen comes down, covers over the TV, and then the lights can dim.
It transforms the whole area into something magical. A nice big screen would be considered anything between 120 to 160 inches.
Mm-hmm.
That's the kind of thing that I think over 160 inches you probably will start developing some neck aches from having to look all over the screen following the action.
The actual design of the cinema would include speccing the right size screen for the room size, because you have to be able to see every element of the screen within your field of vision, otherwise it's not worth having such a large screen unless you're just trying to impress people.
That screen's done and dusted, so to speak. As for the audio, speakers, etc., now we've been looking recently into soundbars. Yeah, so there are a few companies, Samsung, JBL, Denon, Sonos, who are bringing out Atmos Atmos compatible, or is it just Atmos capable?
Atmos capable
Atmos
speakers.
capable soundbars with subwoofers, and the beauty is a lot of it is wireless.
Yeah, so a lot of these soundbar, Atmos soundbars specifically, rely on reflective sound. So they're up-firing front Atmos speakers that fire the sound up, forwards, reflect onto the ceiling and sound like it's coming from above you. So you don't have to install anything in the ceiling. They're really cool. That only works if your ceiling is flat.
Yeah, so that's the kind of instance where you need almost a box room. Flat walls, flat ceilings.
Yeah.
You know, that's the only time it's going to work, really.
Essentially, these soundbars are a really good budget option if you haven't got the budget to put in-wall or on-wall speakers, cinema speakers in.
Run cables, install amplifiers, etc.
Yeah. Especially if you're in a rented accommodation. Like if you're renting, you can pick up one of these Sonos, one of these soundbars for under £1,000 that can do a decent job. So yeah, they really you will really notice the difference between a standard stereo signal coming from your TV and installing one of these 5.1.2 soundbar Atmos soundbars.
Whereas some of the dedicated home theatre soundbars alone start at nearly double the price of these complete surround sound systems. So it really puts it into perspective where you can essentially have an entire system for under £1,000, or you get a bespoke system where the individual components can cost that much.
Yeah.
There are a few basic setups that can be considered part of an essential home cinema. So there's 5.1, which is your most common, that used to come supplied with traditional DVD players. Do you remember those that had built-in amplifiers in the DVD player?
Yeah.
So you buy a DVD player with built-in amplifier and you buy all the speakers too. You've got 3 at the front, 2 at the back, and the subwoofer on the floor. So that was your traditional 1990s home theatre system.
So a 5.1 consists of your left channel, your right channel, your center channel, and your 2 surround channels.
And 1 subwoofer.
The pump.
The next step up from that is a 7.1, which is the same as a 5.1, except it adds 2 rear channels.
You may need more subwoofers.
Maybe we should break up what these points are. So the first number, in which case, in the case of a 5.1 system, is the number of surround speakers.
So that comes back to that horizontal plane of sound.
Yeah.
That's the first number.
The second number is the number of subwoofers. So a lot of the time it will be a 0.1 because you'd have 1 subwoofer, but some systems have multiple subwoofers. This depends on the room size, depends on the required loudness.
Like most Odeon screening rooms have between 8 and 12 subwoofers, for instance.
Usually a standard system would end there, but when Atmos is concerned, there is an extra number that comes after the point subwoofer number, and that signifies the number of Atmos speakers there are. These are usually in ceiling. In the case of a 5.1.2, you would have 5 surrounds, 1 sub, and 2 in ceiling Atmos speakers. Thanks for tuning in to our video on home cinemas. The next video on our journey through the A to Z of AV is on the letter
I.
which stands for
Integration.
When we say integration, what we mean is how we integrate our control system with all other third-party systems that other people install in people's houses.
Okay, bye.